In a crowded airport, a stunning black teenager stood out, her voice weaving through 9 languages with effortless grace, guiding lost travelers. Amara, just 17, radiated a brilliance that turned heads, except for one. A millionaire, draped in privilege, watched with a sneer, his eyes dismissing her as a fluke. He leaned toward his associate, his laughter sharp, unaware of the fire in her spirit. But something was coming. A moment that would strip away his smug certainty and leave him reeling. What hidden strength did this girl carry that could silence a man who thought he knew the world? The truth would hit harder than he could imagine. The airport buzzed with a restless energy, a mosaic of hurried footsteps and rolling suitcases under harsh fluorescent lights. Amid the chaos, 17-year-old Amara stood out, her radiant beauty turning heads. Her dark skin glowed against her vibrant head wrap, and her eyes sparkled with a quiet confidence. She was no ordinary teenager. Raised in a small, overlooked town, Amara had taught herself 9 languages through borrowed library books and crackling online videos, her hunger for knowledge outpacing the limits of her circumstances. Her dream? To become a global diplomat, bridging cultures in a world that often feels divided. Today, she was at the airport for a scholarship interview, a chance to attend an elite international academy. Her worn backpack held her carefully folded application, pages creased from months of hope. As she navigated the crowded lounge, her voice flowed seamlessly, switching from Spanish to Mandarin to Swahili, assisting confused travelers with a warmth that disarmed them. Each word she spoke was a testament to her resilience, a defiance of the stereotypes that had shadowed her life. Across the lounge, a millionaire businessman, impeccably suited, watched her with a raised eyebrow. His name was Edward Voss, a man accustomed to power and privilege. To him, Amara was an anomaly, her poise and intellect clashing with the assumptions he'd carried for years. He leaned toward his associate, his voice low, dripping with amusement. He didn't know her story, how she'd faced whispers of "you don't belong" in classrooms, how she'd pieced together her education, despite a system that overlooked girls like her. Yet something about her presence unsettled him, stirring a curiosity he couldn't shake. What had shaped this girl who seemed to defy the world's expectations? And why did her confidence feel like a challenge to everything he believed? As Amara moved closer to her gate, the air thickened with unspoken tension, hinting at a confrontation that would soon unravel. The airport lounge pulsed with the hum of anticipation. Still, for Amara, each step toward her gate felt like wading through a current of unseen judgment. Her vibrant head wrap drew stares, some curious, others laced with something colder. At 17, she was used to it. The sidelong glances, the whispers that trailed her like shadows. Growing up in a town where her family was one of the few black households, she'd learned to navigate spaces where she was both invisible and hypervisible. Yet today, with her scholarship interview looming, those stares stung sharper. Each one a reminder of the barriers she'd fought to overcome. Amara clutched her backpack, the weight of her application inside grounding her. Years of late nights spent deciphering languages, French from faded textbooks, Arabic from grainy YouTube tutorials, had led to this moment. She'd earned her spot here, not through privilege but through a relentless drive that burned brighter than doubt. But as she approached the gate, Edward Voss, the millionaire from the lounge, stood in her path. His tailored suit and polished demeanor exuded authority, but his gaze held a dismissive edge. He'd been watching her since her effortless translations, his amusement curdling into something harder to name. Resentment, perhaps, or unease at a girl who defied his neatly ordered worldview. Voss's associate, a younger man with a tablet in hand, murmured something, and the two exchanged a glance that made Amara's stomach twist. She'd seen that look before. in teachers who assumed she'd cheated on perfect exams and neighbors who questioned why her family didn't fit in. It was the look of a world that saw her brilliance as a threat. Voss stepped closer, his presence looming, and though no words passed between them, his scrutiny felt like a challenge. Amara's heart raced, but she held her ground, her chin lifting slightly, her eyes meeting his with a quiet defiance around them. The airport churned on, oblivious to the silent battle unfolding. A family rushed past, a child's laughter breaking, the tension momentarily, but Amara's focus stayed locked on Voss. She sensed he was testing her, waiting for her to falter, to reveal some flaw that would justify his assumptions. But she wouldn't. Her mind flickered to the stories her grandmother told, tales of ancestors who'd endured far worse, their resilience woven into her very being. She carried their strength now, a legacy that no stare could unravel, yet the tension grew heavier. Voss's associate tapped his tablet, pulling up something that made his brow furrow. Was it about her? Had they looked into her background? Her small-town roots? Her scholarship application? The air crackled with unspoken accusations, and Amara felt the weight of every stereotype she'd ever fought pressing down. The injustice of it burned. Why did her brilliance invite suspicion instead of awe? Why did her presence unsettle men like Voss, who saw her not as a prodigy, but as an outlier to be explained away? As she moved toward the boarding area, a new wave of travelers surged, momentarily separating her from Voss's gaze. But the reprieve was fleeting. Something was coming, a moment that would tip this silent standoff into something undeniable. What would happen when her truth collided with his prejudice? The airport gate area thrummed with restless energy, but for Amara, time seemed to slow, each heartbeat a drum in her chest. She stood at the counter, her scholarship interview just beyond the boarding gate, her dreams within reach. But Edward Voss, the millionaire whose gaze had shadowed her, now loomed closer, his presence a wall of unspoken judgment. His associate's tablet glowed with a document, her name, her photo, her application. Amara's breath caught as she realized they'd dug into her life, their scrutiny a violation she felt in her bones. The injustice of it surged, a raw, familiar ache, her brilliance once again reduced to suspicion. Voss's eyes narrowed, his posture radiating authority, as if he could unravel her with a glance. He didn't need words. His stance screamed disbelief that a girl like her, black, young, from nowhere, could wield such intellect. The weight of his assumptions pressed against her, echoing every moment she'd been questioned, doubted, dismissed. The airport crowd faded, the hum of voices a distant blur, as Amara's world narrowed to this silent confrontation. Her hands trembled, but not from fear. Anger, fierce and unyielding, surged within her. She was no anomaly. She was a force, forged through years of overcoming a world that tried to dim her light, then a shift. A gate agent, oblivious to the tension, called Amara forward, her boarding pass scanned with a beep that cut through the haze. Voss stepped closer, his associate trailing, their intent clear. They wanted answers, a justification for her existence in this space. But Amara turned, her eyes locking onto Voss's with a fire that made him falter. In that moment, her 9 languages, her resilience, her unbroken spirit became a shield. She wasn't just a girl. She was a testament to survival, to brilliance unbound by prejudice. The air crackled, electric with the weight of her defiance. Voss's confident smirk wavered, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. Something in her gaze, a truth he couldn't dismiss, shook him. The gate agent handed Amara her pass, and she stepped toward the jetway, her back straight, her head high. What would happen when her truth shattered his world? Amara stepped through the jetway, the weight of Edward Voss's gaze lingering like a shadow. but her stride carried the strength of 1,000 unseen victories. Behind her, the millionaire stood frozen, his associate's tablet now idle, their earlier confidence fractured. Her defiance, those unflinching eyes, that unyielding poise, had pierced through Voss's assumptions, leaving him grappling with a truth he couldn't ignore. Amara wasn't just a girl. She was a living rebuke to a world that tried to box her in. As she boarded the plane, the hum of the airport faded, replaced by the quiet certainty of her purpose. On the flight, Amara gazed out the window, the clouds below a canvas of possibility. The scholarship interview awaited, a gateway to her dream of becoming a diplomat, of weaving unity in a fractured world. The injustice of Voss's scrutiny, the sting of his unspoken prejudice, lingered, but it fueled her. She'd faced this before. Classrooms where teachers overlooked her raised hand, streets where strangers clutched their bags tighter. Each moment had forged her, not broken her. Her 9 languages learned through grit and stolen moments were more than skills. They were her rebellion against a system that doubted her worth. Voss, left behind in the lounge, would carry this moment, too. The girl he'd dismissed had unraveled his certainty, forcing him to confront the fragility of his worldview. Would he change? Perhaps not. But Amara's presence had planted a seed, a crack in the armor of his privilege. Her story, one of countless others, was a reminder that brilliance thrives despite barriers, that resilience outshines doubt. As the plane soared, Amara's heart steadied. She wasn't just chasing a scholarship. She was rewriting the narrative for girls like her. Black, bold, unbreakable. The world would see her, not as an anomaly, but as a force. And what of those still watching, judging? Could they look at her and not question the biases they carry? Her journey demanded more than reflection. It demanded action, a reckoning with the injustices woven into everyday moments. Who would rise to meet that challenge?